Welcome back, Source Nation. Now here's your host, Kathy B.
Welcome back, Source Nation. Welcome back. You're listening live right here on the Ladies Lounge. We have about an hour before we lose the live feed. And, of course, I am your host, Kathy B. Telephone number to reach us tonight is 619-924-0933. Again, 619-924-0933. I want to take a quick moment to thank a lovely young lady who was with me in the first hour, Miss Tori Rogers-Ball. All of her information and more can be found on Kathy B. Source Radio Network, as well as our main station page, Source Radio Network. Well, you guys know that we have been speaking with to some wonderful, beautiful ladies in reference to the new collaboration books that we're going to get into beginning 2018, and of course we're finishing out the year 2017 with collaborations. But this particular book series is called Women Inspiring Nations, and I have had the pleasure of just speaking with some great women and definitely learning about their life's journey. Well, the next young lady coming in the studio is going to do just that. She is a collaborating author in Women Inspiring Nations. Her name is Eydie Robinson. But before I bring Eydie in, I want to share just a little bit about the book, just in case you're tuning in right now in the second hour. This book is designed to feature women who are using their gifts for the greater good, taking their gifts beyond the boundaries of their own zip codes and being intentional about inspiring others by sharing their stories, their lessons, and their knowledge. Now, each contributing author will share their story about how they discovered their unique gift or calling in spite of life distractions, what challenges they may face along the way, and also walking within their greatness. Now, I love that. They also will speak about how they found the drive and the focus to commit to the process, the most pivotal lessons that they have learned, what fears they had to face, and how they now use their gifts to impact and inspire others. I love it, and I am so excited to have Eydie in the studio with us. I do believe she's there. Eydie, hello, and welcome to the Ladies Lounge. How are you this evening?
I am good. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so excited. I am so grateful. This is definitely a blessing. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to be here to talk about this book that I really think that's going to have a big impact on everyone who reads it.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And definitely, as I stated as we were coming back into the show, that I've had some amazing conversations, and I know that we're going to have a great one here this evening as well. Now, let me ask you, Eydie, you know, a lot of the ladies have come in and they've shared with us the reason why they decided to insert this particular chapter into the book. If you don't mind sharing with the ladies in the lounge, what was your contribution and why do you feel it's so important for people to know and understand your journey?
Well, I think it's very important for people to know, especially women, because women, we go through so much. We have so many responsibilities, and I've always thought that it's more important, even though you go through things, to tell it to other people. Your testimony is always going to help someone. And a lot of times we get so caught up on, you know, not wanting to share things that we have experienced in life, especially when it comes to the bad things that have happened. But we have to think about those who hear it, because you just never know how it's going to affect that next person. So when I heard about this opportunity, I was going along my own journey as well, and I always say that it's more of a blessing to be a blessing to others. And I said, I've been through so much in my life, and to look back at where I was then and where I am now, I believe my story and the struggles that I came out of will be able to help someone else.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Now, let's focus in on that. Being able to help someone else based upon what you've already experienced. How important is that for you to do, and especially convey that to others by the story that you're telling? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's very important because I know there was a time in my life where I needed to hear someone's story because some of the things that I was going through, I felt like I was all alone. And it's like when you're in those situations and you find out, hey, it's someone that has experienced the same thing, or it may be someone that's going through what I'm going through. It may not be the exact same situation, but when you know that you're not alone and you're not the only one that's experiencing that trial or that tribulation, it kind of lifts a weight off of you. Not to say that you're not going to continue to go through that trial or tribulation, but it just makes you feel so much better that it's not just you, in this world alone that's experiencing something like that. And since that has such a huge effect on me, being able to have people share their stories with me, I felt like it was my duty to be able to do that for someone else. And a lot of times, like I said, there are things in my life that have happened that, trust me, I've been like, Lord, do I really need to share this story? Do I need to go this much in depth with it? And when I prayed about it, I'd have to be obedient and say, you know what, it's not always about you. It's about helping other people. And that's what I've come to find out through my spiritual journey and my journey of trying to find out what my purpose is that it's something that I am supposed to do and something that I need to do in order to fulfill the purpose that he has for me.
That's so true. I truly believe when we are going through our trials and our tribulations, I looked at it as a journey that God has blessed you with. Okay, because of course we know that he would not put anything on you that you cannot bear. So I look at whatever struggle I may have, this was meant for me. This was my test to see how can I endure what he's given me, because the blessing ultimately is on the other side. And when we are going through and when we're able to tell our story, it requires us to be very transparent. So I want to talk about that because as you were telling your story, you have to be transparent. And it gives you the area of becoming vulnerable all over again. So talk to the ladies, if you will, about becoming transparent when telling your story and allowing vulnerability to take place. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me just tell you, it took a lot of prayer. And it took a lot of fighting, per se, between me and God, because there have been things that I have not wanted to share, and I've gotten up, like when I've done speaking engagements and things like that, and I've made it a point. I've said in my head, like, okay, I'm not going to go into this. I'm just going to, talk about some other things. But when I get up there, it's like I keep hearing it in my head, you need to go ahead and share that story. And I'm having a battle with him in my head, but and that's very true. It's happened so many times, but like I said, it's just so important to be transparent and learn how to be transparent. And even though, sometimes you just don't want to be reminded of the things that have taken place. But to me, it's just really a testimony to show the awesomeness of God and how he can take you out of situations, even when you feel like it's no way possible out. When you can overcome that, it brings more glory to him than anything else. And sometimes it takes you, pressing and having to pray and having to just be obedient. But in the end, like I said, it's all for the glory of him, because that's really what it's all about as Christians, I believe.
Yes, that is so true, so true. Now, with that being said, because we talked about the vulnerability piece and being transparent, what would you say in reference to sharing your story and sharing it with someone who says, you know what, Eydie, I actually went down the same path, or I have a similar story like yours, but I'm still trying to this day. And it could be, last year, it could be years from years ago, but I'm still trying to deal with it. What would you say to that person? How should they overcome that?
I would tell them to continue to pray, because a lot of times it is a process that you have to go through before you can move forward and start, talking to people about different things that you've been involved with in your life or that you've experienced. So my advice would be to pray, to read his word, and to continuously focus on your growth and development, because until you get to a point to where you are comfortable with you and that you're going through the actual steps to be able to heal, that has to be first and foremost before you can do anything else. Because if you don't go through those things first, it's going to be even more difficult for you to be transparent, because you still have things that you're dealing with yourself. And not to say that you have to be perfect, or not to say that you have to have totally gone through or gotten over those things. But like you kind of mentioned in the beginning, it is a process that you have to go through. It doesn't happen overnight. I know for me it didn't happen overnight. It took me a long time to share some of the things that I had gone through, even with close family members. And that's still something that I struggle with now. When I talk about things that happened to me in my childhood, they get angry because they feel like, well, you shouldn't be telling everybody our business. And no, I'm not telling every detail, but for me to be able to speak about things, that's also a healing process as well, in addition to me helping others.
I'm glad you said that, because that leads me to my next question about support, especially if it's something that has happened in your childhood. And, of course, when you're children, if something traumatic has happened, we don't know if people are going to trust the fact that we're saying something that is true or saying something that is real. So we don't talk about it. But when we actually grow up and we're trying to figure out, well, this happened to me in my childhood, and, I wasn't able to speak, but I'm ready to speak about it now. Let's talk about the area of support, because support can be strained, just as you said. People say, I don't want to talk about that. I mean, that was years ago. You should be fine with it now because you doing this and you doing that. But let's talk about how important support is, especially if you're in the healing process. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, man, support is very important. I cannot stress that enough. And many times, to be honest with you, Kathy, a lot of times the support does not even come from your family. I have found that and not to say, now I do have some family members that have been very supportive with me in this process, but I have had more people that I barely know support me more than some of the people that are close to me. And it's really a shame that it has to be that way, but just to be honest, that's what it's been like. When I've talked to people and told them my story, I've had so many people, come to me, and like I said, if it's something that they have experienced in life, or even not, just to say, I'm sorry that you've been through those things. I haven't experienced that, but I can only imagine. And just a hug or a smile or anything, that is very important, because like I said, I have had family members who have said some pretty mean things to me, or have tried to downplay some of the things that I experienced in my childhood, like it wasn't that intense as I may have told the story, or they feel like people may perceive it a certain way, but people are not going to perceive it a certain way if I'm telling what actually happened. It is what it is. So I think support is very important, even if you can't get it from friends and family members or those close to you. There's always someone, whether it be someone in your church, someone in an organization that you belong to, someone that you have a close relationship, even a coworker, because a lot of times I believe you're at work, 40 hours plus during the week, you develop a relationship with some people, and that becomes like your family. So even if it's someone close like that, just to have someone in your corner so that you know you are not in this alone.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So it's Nation and the ladies in the lounge. We are speaking with Miss Eydie Robinson, and she's sharing her journey with us. She's one of the authors in a collaboration of Women Inspiring Nations. Great information that you're sharing with us, Eydie. I would like to talk about judgment. This is something that I've spoken with most of the ladies in reference to their journeys and how people will begin to judge you based off of what information that you're sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about that. What are your thoughts about judgment, and have you experienced that along your journey with the story that you're sharing?
Actually, I would not say that I've been judged that much. I mean, not to my knowledge anyway. You never know what people are saying behind your back or behind closed doors.
That's true.
But for me, this whole journey, and it's been a long journey, trust me, of just trying to find my purpose and get to the point where I'm at now. But for the majority of the people that have heard my story have been really supportive. Now, I've had some people judge me in the fact that they may feel like, I can't even think of the word for it right now, but they may feel like I'm just doing too much. Maybe that may be the sense, but that really has not come from people that are really close to me. And I have had some people, not very many, like I said, say that I'm doing too much or that I'm sharing too much, but I've had more people tell me how much they appreciate me sharing my story, because when you look at me, you probably would not think that I've gone through many of the things that I've gone through in my life, and that's with most people. You never know what is going on behind closed doors. So when people tell me that I am an inspiration to them, just knowing my story or hearing about my story and seeing what happened to me in the past and where I am now, and that encourages them to be able to move forward and to get past those things and want to be better and be able to achieve the goals that they want to achieve, that motivates me to keep going and to keep doing what he wants me to do in his will, because really that's what it's all about, is serving him and allowing him to order my steps. Because without him, none of this would be possible. Without him, I would not be able to share my story, because all of these years I was scared, I was embarrassed, because it like I said, it's been a lot from childhood up into adulthood, from things that I was a victim from things where I just made bad decisions. Everybody goes through it. Yeah. It may be different. One story may be different from the other, but I feel like that we have all had some kind of journey, somewhere in our life.
Right. I love that, because, I was sharing with the ladies in the lounge. Of course, they've heard this on this platform, but the ladies that have come in from the collaboration, that, the story that I share is being able to go on after divorce and be able to become a survivor and still triumph for my dreams. And the one thing that I did not want was the fact that it was my second divorce. I got married 23 years ago, and really wanted this marriage. And the one thing that people did not understand was, and the marriage, actually the demise of the marriage, was infidelity played a part. And in that marriage, I was married for 8 years, but for 7 of those years, my husband stepped outside of the home, and I was fully aware of what it was and what he was doing. And I was fighting all along for my marriage, because I'm like, okay, I got to do some things different. I got to make sure he understands that I love him. I'm here supporting him. I'm doing whatever I can to be that wife that God has said I needed to be and should be. But unfortunately, it just did not work out that way. And I got to the point where I said, enough is enough. We got to end this thing. But with that being said, is that once the separation and the divorce took place, because I asked for the divorce and I actually filed the paperwork, did all of it. And so once all that was done, I had to literally, Eydie, stop and take a look at myself, literally face myself in the mirror and ask a very important question. What part did you play? What part did you play? And a lot of people, have said to me, you talk so much about your divorce, you talk so much about the infidelity, and you said that you asked yourself, what part did you play? Well, wasn't that all on him? And why are you doing this? Why are you subjecting yourself to this? Well, I think when you're in your healing process, you have to make sure that you realize if you contribute to something, you have to own up to it. Just own up to it, and let whatever happens. And that's what happened with me. I said, okay, well, because I didn't know, because he actually came to me a year later asking me if I forgave him, and I told him I actually forgave you when I found out about it, which literally blew his mind, because he was like, oh, my God, really? I'm like, yeah, I forgave you, because, see, in order for me to forgive you, it helps me. It helps me grow.
That is so true.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, whatever the traumatic experience is or was. In order for you to reach that healing process and the area of growth, sometimes you have to recognize, or you have to ask yourself, what part did I play? What are your thoughts about that? And is that even fair for the person that's trying to get beyond that traumatic experience? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I totally agree with that. And every situation is different, but I agree a lot with what you said. Sometimes you do have to step away, look at yourself in the mirror, and ask that question: what part did I play? What did I do? And not saying that you're putting the blame on yourself, but I just think a lot of times you really have to find out who you truly are first before you can move forward. Because a lot of times if you don't know who you are, there are things that you're going to accept that someone else wouldn't accept. And I know for me, a lot of my tragedy, per se, or trials and tribulations started at a young age. So those were some things that I had no control over. But like I kind of mentioned earlier, some of the things that I went through later on in my adulthood was because of bad decisions that I made. So it wasn't always on another person, or I wasn't a victim because of another person. Now, some of the decisions that I made stemmed from some of the things that I had been through in childhood, but not everything, because you have a choice in everything that you do. You can either go right or left, right or wrong. And some of those times I went left, and some of those times I made the wrong decisions and even knew that I made the wrong decisions, but I wasn't comfortable who I was. That confidence wasn't there. That self-esteem wasn't there. And I just at one point was at a really low point in my life, so I really didn't care what I was doing or what the consequence was or anybody's feelings or anything. So I truly believe that, yes, you do have to stop, look at yourself in the mirror, and first answer the question, who am I and what do I need to change in my life to help me be a better person and to help me be able to move forward? Because if you can't answer that question, whatever relationship, anything, you're not going to be able to give 100% in anything that you do if you don't even know who you are.
That's true. That is so true. Wow. Good information there. Now, with that being said, understanding who we are. Once we have gotten past that experience, that traumatic experience, we are now in our healing process, how do we get to the point of understanding who we are? What are your thoughts on that?
I think sometimes you have to go through your own personal journey, and that can be different for different people. I know for me, for an example, I took time off from the world. It felt like, honestly. I mean, I went through a time where I just kind of shut everything and everyone out, and I focused on prayer. I focused on worship. I focused on understanding and reading the Bible and reading different self-help books. I even did some therapy. There was a lot of different things that I did for me to be able to get to that point. Now, for someone else, it may be different. It can be a number of different things, but those were the things that helped me go through that journey when I went through it. I just kind of had to seclude myself. I didn't even go out or anything like I used to do, and that's just, like I said, that's something that I had to do for me, because when those outside influences came in, or if I allowed those outside influences to come in, I would be back where I started. So I knew that, okay, I had to let some of these people and some of these things go in order for me to truly heal.
That is awesome, because I'm telling you, too, I had to do the same exact thing. Let some people go. The ones that wanted to tell me that, you know, you left a good man, and, you know, I could never see him doing that to you. Obviously, you must have did something to him. I had to let all of that go, all of that go, and realize that, you know, I'm a mom. I had 2 young sons that were depending on me, and it was just it's unhealthy to be in a situation where children are involved, because the longer you stay, they will continue to hurt too. And that's what I was saying. But then once in a while, it got to the point where I was like, I'm just tired of telling everybody that. I am not saying nothing. I'm just going to do what I have to do.
Yeah, and trust me, I understand, because I've been in that same situation that you were. I am divorced as well, and we divorced for the same reason. So I truly understand. And I had my grandparents and family. How are you going to manage with those kids without him? That's just a man. Men do that. No, I'm not going to accept that. But it's so easy that when you hear these people saying these things, it starts making you doubt yourself. Like, okay, maybe I should give him another chance. But wow, how many chances am I going to give him? He's been caught how many times? And I know for me, mine had another baby. But still, people were like, well, just forgive him. It'll be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. And I know that I am worth more than that. So I'm just going to move forward and know and trust that even though it may be a hard and a long process, I will get through.
Love that. Now, let's talk about how your story has been once you have shared it with other people that either have gone through the same process as you, or it's new to someone. What is the reception on it? How are people receiving the information? Can you share that with us?
First of all, people are shocked normally when I tell them some of the things that I went through, and it was difficult for me to stay in the limits of the chapter, of my chapter, because there's so much. I'm like, okay, how am I going to slim all of this down? But when I tell people even a portion of some of the things that I have gone through, they are in shock and disbelief. Like, how did you get through that? Because there was a time early on in my life, and I talk about this a little bit in my chapter, when I was in 7th grade, I was going through so much in the home where I attempted to commit suicide. And when people hear that, especially hearing that was something that I did at such an early age, 7th grade, I think maybe you're 12 or 13 years old, they can't believe it. And to see me still standing where I am now with even the things that occurred after that time, domestic abuse and the divorce and, all of that, they are just amazed, like, how did you do it? How did you get through that? So I think that's the number one reaction that I get from people is shock. Because if you look at me and you are around me, I'm a happy person. I love helping people, and I don't really always talk about the things that I've gone through unless I'm at speaking engagements or talking to other girls and things like that, so you would never know. So like I said, I think that's why they react the way that they do when I tell them.
Now, let's talk about some of the things that you have put in place. Now, are you working with women or maybe families that have gone through something similar to what you're doing? And if so, can you share that information with us?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I actually have a nonprofit organization here in Dallas where I live now. It's called Desire to Empower. And the mission of my organization is really to guide, educate, support, and bring awareness to girls and women in the areas of personal and professional development. But within that, I do get a lot of girls and women who are going through some of the things that I have been through. So I do a lot of mentoring. I do a lot of speaking, sharing my story, because like I kind of talked about earlier, I feel like until you can truly start the process of getting over those things and finding out who you are, you can't move forward in goals that you're wanting to achieve, because you always have those things hanging over you and those things holding you down. So until you can get to a point to where you can move forward on that has to come first before you can do anything else. So I talk to a lot of the girls and women about things that I've gone through because it has helped them.
Awesome. Love that. As we are wrapping up, Eydie, I want to thank you so much for coming in and sharing your amazing story with us. Definitely wish you much success here with the collaboration and everything that you're doing in your organization. What we like to do is we like to either end with encouraging words or maybe some tips and advice that we have not shared in tonight's conversation. If you wish to contribute, we'd love for you to do so at this time.
Oh, yes. I would just like to end this and tell whoever is listening that just simple, yes, you can. You can move past any obstacle that you have been in your life. You can move forward into any goal that you want to achieve. The first and foremost thing that you have to do is put God first in your life, and when you do that, everything else will follow. If you put him first in your life and pray and have the courage and the wisdom that you need in order to move forward, you can. He is waiting on us to ask whatever it is that we desire. We don't always get the things that we want, but he will definitely supply us with things that we need.
Yes, he will. And if you will, please, Eydie, thank you so much for that. Share with the ladies in the lounge and everyone listening tonight, how can we get more information about you and continue to support you in your efforts?
Oh, yes, thank you so much. Definitely my website, which is www.Eydie, and that's E-Y-D as in David, I-E, Robinson.com. You will find on there all the information about me, because I also have a book, too, before this project. You can get information on that on my organization. That is www.desire2empower.org.
Love it. Well, Eydie, again, thank you so much for joining me here in the Ladies Lounge. Beautiful story that you have shared with us, and I definitely look forward to hearing more great things from you in the future. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great evening.
All right. You too.
Well, Source Nation, you heard it right there from Miss Eydie Robinson, wonderful lady. For more information about Eydie, you definitely can go out to Kathy B, Source Radio Network, or our main station page, Source Radio Network. You know, just to sum up my conversation with Eydie tonight, what I love most is the fact that she shared a beautiful story. A little of what she shared, she and I both, our lives seem to have paralleled. We talked a little bit about divorce and being able to get beyond the divorce and continue on a path for greatness. And that's what I'm going to challenge you with, ladies in the lounge and everyone listening tonight, is that whatever traumatic experience that you've gone through, or you may be going through something right now, and you feel as though that there is no hope, let me just say this. Yes, it is, and the sun and a brighter day is beyond where you are right now. Take the time to love on yourself. You know, Eydie mentioned something that was so important, that you do have to have support. And if your family is not there to support you, if you have friends that are there to listen, or possibly going to speak to someone in your church, or maybe seeking out a therapist to talk to, there is help, and there's always hope. And the one thing, too, if you are a believer, know that God is always there for you. Say your prayers and believe that everything is worked out. So I love that. Again, I want to thank Tori Rogers Ball for coming in, and my young lady, Eydie Robinson, in this hour. All of the information and more, again, can be found on Kathy B, Source Radio Network, as well as our main station page, Source Radio Network. I want to let you guys know I thank you and appreciate you for being here tonight. We're not done yet. No, because next week we're coming back with two more beautiful young ladies from the amazing collaboration, Women Inspiring Nations. These ladies are making a change and a difference in their communities as well as the world. Tune in next week, same time at 7 p.m. for the Ladies Lounge. You're listening live right here. I'm your host, Kathy B. We'll see you all next week. Good night.
Get at me for beats, yo.